Hi, and welcome to the British Accent Podcast. I'm Emily.
And I'm Nick. Today we're talking about something that every English learner deals with: mistakes. Not just the ones you write down and correct, but the ones that slip out when you're nervous, tired, or just speaking from the heart.
We all make them. Even native speakers. But for learners, mistakes often carry a bit more weight: embarrassment, self-doubt, the feeling that you're not quite good enough yet. But what if we looked at them differently?
Yeah, what if your mistakes were actually signs of progress? What if they weren't something to hide, but something that showed just how much your brain is learning, experimenting, adapting?
Because here's the thing, making mistakes in English isn't a sign that you're failing. It's a sign that you're trying. It means you're stepping outside your comfort zone. You're choosing courage over silence.
Exactly. When you speak up, even when you're unsure, even when you know something might come out wrong, that's powerful. That shows commitment. It shows that you're not waiting for perfect. You're using what you know, and growing from it.
And mistakes also show how you're learning. For example, if someone says, "I am agree," instead of "I agree," it shows that they've picked up on the "I am" structure, maybe from learning other expressions like "I am tired" or "I am ready." That's not failure, that's logic.
Right. It's your brain applying patterns it knows. And sure, it might not be the standard form, but it shows how your mind is making connections. It's actively building bridges between what you've learned and what you're trying to express.
And sometimes, the kinds of mistakes you make reveal what you're focusing on. If you're trying to use more advanced grammar, you might get a few things wrong, but that means you're stretching yourself. You're not playing it safe.
And that's where growth happens. Not in silence. Not in perfection. But in those awkward, messy, brave moments where you take a risk and let the words come out.
And it's worth saying, the people who make the most progress in English are rarely the ones who make the fewest mistakes. It's the ones who are willing to speak anyway. To keep going, even when they get something wrong.
Because every mistake is feedback. Not in a harsh, red pen on the page kind of way, but in a natural, "Oh, that didn't work, let me try again," sort of way. It's how kids learn, too. They get things wrong constantly. But they learn fast because they don't stop.
They're not embarrassed. They're curious. They repeat, they mimic, they test things out. And that's the exact mindset we all need, even as adults, especially when learning something as layered and unpredictable as English.
And some mistakes are actually a sign that you're becoming more fluent. Like when someone starts speaking quickly and mixes up tenses or drops a small word. That's not failure, that's speed catching up with knowledge. It means your brain is trying to speak naturally.
Yes. Or when someone uses informal English, but not quite in the right way. That shows they've been listening closely to how real people speak, not just textbook examples. That kind of mistake says, "I'm paying attention. I'm involved."
And I think that's so important. Mistakes aren't the opposite of fluency, they are part of it. They show you're using the language in real life, not just in controlled situations. You're letting the language live inside you.
Because English isn't a test. It's a tool. And tools get messy when you actually use them. So if you're out there making mistakes, it means you're doing the real work. The honest work. The kind of work that changes you.
So when you look back at something you said and cringe a bit, try this instead. Notice what the mistake says about what you were trying to do. Were you being creative? Were you being brave? Were you experimenting?
Most likely, yes. Most likely, that mistake wasn't random, it was part of your brain trying to grow. And honestly, there's so much beauty in that.
And when you shift how you see those moments, everything changes. Instead of thinking, "I got it wrong," you start to think, "I'm learning something new." And that mindset makes you more confident, because you're not afraid of getting it wrong anymore.
It also makes the whole process feel lighter. You're not constantly judging yourself. You're just exploring. You're playing with the language, testing what fits, what works, what lands with people.
And when you stop treating mistakes like failure, you start speaking more freely. You stop hesitating. You stop overthinking every sentence. And funnily enough, that's usually when your English actually improves the most.
Because freedom leads to fluency. It's hard to speak naturally when you're scared of slipping up every 2 seconds. But when you say, "It's okay, I'll just try," your whole body relaxes. Your voice flows more easily.
And people pick up on that. Listeners aren't looking for perfection, they're looking for connection. They care far more about what you're saying than whether your grammar is spotless.
Exactly. Think of the conversations you've had with someone who speaks your language as a second language. You probably don't remember their tiny errors, but you remember how they made you feel. That's what really stays with people.
And that's why we say, your English mistakes don't just show what you've learned. They show your effort, your willingness, your courage, your heart.
You're not just learning a language, you're building a voice. And every imperfect sentence is part of that voice finding its rhythm.
And the thing is, nobody ever became fluent by avoiding mistakes. Fluency comes from using the language, not waiting until it's flawless. You speak, you stumble, you laugh at yourself a bit, and you carry on.
And the more you do that, the more natural it becomes. Your brain starts to get used to those small corrections. You stop needing to think through every sentence. You start trusting yourself.
And that trust is what makes all the difference. It's what allows you to take part in real conversations, to connect with people, to express who you are, not just perfectly, but authentically.
We sometimes forget that communication isn't about sounding clever. It's about being understood. And being real. And often, a small mistake can even make the conversation feel more human.
Yeah. It shows vulnerability. It shows that you're not hiding behind rehearsed lines or memorized phrases, you're actually speaking. You're present. And that's powerful.
And let's be honest, native speakers make mistakes all the time. We mix up words, we restart sentences, we forget how to finish our thoughts. So why should language learners hold themselves to a stricter standard?
They shouldn't. Because your value as a speaker isn't measured by your grammar. It's measured by your effort, your ideas, your honesty, and your ability to keep going, even when it's not perfect.
So the next time you make a mistake in English, don't shrink. Don't apologize for trying. Just take a breath, carry on, and remind yourself, this is what progress looks like.
It's also worth remembering that the way you feel about your mistakes is often shaped by your environment. If you've been corrected too harshly in the past, or made to feel small for speaking up, that sticks with you.
It does. But that past doesn't have to shape your future. You can create a new relationship with English. One where mistakes are just steps. Not something to be embarrassed by, but something to notice, to learn from, and then move on.
And the more you treat yourself with kindness in those moments, the stronger your confidence becomes. Because you're not avoiding mistakes anymore. You're walking through them, and you're still standing.
That builds real strength. Quiet strength. The kind that says, I'm still learning. I'm still growing. And that's enough.
And honestly, it's in those moments, the small stumbles, the pauses, the laughter when you mix up a word, that your English becomes yours. It's no longer just a language you're studying. It becomes a part of how you live.
And it becomes something that reflects you, not some version of perfection, but your actual voice. Your story. Your way of showing up in the world, in a new language.
So next time someone points out a mistake you've made, try to smile. Because all that means is, you're in motion. You're brave enough to speak. And brave enough to keep learning out loud.
Your mistakes don't mean you're failing, they mean you're trying. And trying is where the real magic happens. It's where language becomes life, not just learning.
So be proud of every sentence you've said that wasn't perfect. Every time you stumbled and kept going. Every awkward conversation you didn't walk away from.
Because each of those moments tells the story of someone who didn't quit. Someone who chose connection over perfection. Someone who's becoming fluent, one brave mistake at a time.
Thanks for joining us today. We hope this episode helped you see your mistakes in a different light, not as flaws, but as footprints of progress.
You're not just learning English. You're becoming more yourself, one word at a time.
We'll see you in the next episode.
And until then, keep speaking, keep growing, and be kind to yourself along the way.